Hello and welcome to We Are BMs, BM2GM. I'm a Jur this game.
And I'm a Patatas. Anyway, so let's start. We had just recently played against these people who were far too trashy for our liking, so we had to, teach them a lesson.
Don't you mean pay them a trashing?
Same thing. Anyway, this is on Sludge City with 3 Protoss and 1 Jur, played by HierarchARiA.
You got the Sovereign Guard up there, and you got the... Actually, we gave up doing that, didn't we?
Well, I guess down here would be normal Skyrim.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway.
So, you see, there's a thing coming, like I noticed out of a very, very long time ago that I noticed about players ever since HOTS came out. They will trash, and then they will pile, and then they will pile with trash, and after about the 10-minute mark, it's just sort of shit goes sideways and nobody knows what the fuck they're doing anymore. And these people kind of exemplify that through piling with trash in a game that you didn't get to see because, who cares about piling with trash? It's not a fun game to watch, worthy of recording if we hold it off. It's not a fun game worth recording if we don't hold it off. It's just trash. And I really don't know why the game's turned into turned into those. I personally don't like it, but apparently there's enough people liking it that they do it.
I'd suggest, start upgrading to Loctiva, but after playing with the Disruptors in the campaign, there's no way in hell I want to play with Disruptors in the multiplayer.
Pretty much. What I can sum up with the Disruptor is their cost is bullshit because they cost that assload of gas. Their reliability is bullshit because, well, you can whiff it and it'll be completely worthless. Even its animations is bullshit. I would say that out of everything, the Blizzard's StarCraft team, the one thing they've done well is definitely the graphics, because let's be honest here, the balance is fucked up and the client is fucked up and pretty much everything else is fucked up at this point.
More or less. So we've got the 2 trashy Patatas on the top right, or top left corner, still in other directions. They've done their usual cannon with 1 gateway and 2 cannon sort of expand wall thing, which is a really shit wall to begin with. And they've both taken their expansions. I, of course, have gone for my patented, well, it's not patented, but my slightly modified, have to put the wall down because there's too much garbage going around. Plus, expand as much as I can within reason.
So this game here, I did start with Reapers. It's not really my all-in Reapers with the 2 reactors. I actually found out that the reactor Reapers come out at around the same time, like they even out at around 8 Reapers, and at that point the game is pretty much set if you're already doing Reapers. If you snowball, you snowball. If it doesn't work, then no amount of Reapers is going to make it work at that point. So I'm doing the Reaper right now, and it sort of exemplifies how, I would say, the game have become just who can trash first. Because you can see they're doing everything right. Blue has basically sacrificed his entire economy. He's put up 4 cannons, he's protected his own base, and basically just go over to trash red. There's especially in 2v2s, that's how trash works. It's, you basically, in wings, it was usually a tech, which kind of results in trash right now, gets beaten by, I would say, rushing for lots of units, which gets beaten by macro. And right now it's just like trash beats macro, goes even with trash, and beats everything else, basically. And it's kind of depressing. So we got three Reapers over here. They did force red off of the mineral line quite a lot. Surprisingly, with Blue's little expanding going on here, or with the defense with the cannons, they have not really been able to make use of that. Red have not been able to get up too many workers because of this trash going on. I would say probably across these Reapers, I can't tell how many kills there is because I'm bad at selecting shit. I can see this one has 2 and that one has 1. The one that died can probably be expected to have 2 or 1 as well, which totals, I don't know, 4 or 5 probes lost. And for a one base Protoss, that's a lot.
Yeah. Well, you can see that Red's lost 6 probes and Purple's lost 2. Meanwhile,
production tab.
We've got Teal on 3 bases, of course, attacking up with the...
So this still disgusts me. because of how slippery this shit is.
Yeah. It's just not satisfying when that stuff gets away after all the trouble you get into just to like chase it off. So of course it is now the 8.5 minute mark, at which point you would normally expect to have like, at least your second tier of tech down. However, while it is down, it's just they haven't been able to actually get any upgrades or kind of really do anything. Meanwhile, because Azrael was macroing off of HierarchARiA's trash, we've got a fully realized economy, as well as massive teching going on with double stargates, more pylon, more probes.
And one really retarded Reaper there going back and forth.
Yeah. It went full retard.
Yes.
So of course, because of what happened in the game before this one, we were a little pissed off.
A little bit is very understated. You don't exactly see me planning to build Marauders or Missile Man in the beginning. Normally I sort of go for 5 barracks with 1 tech lab for getting upgrades, and I eventually go around making the Missile Man, at which point it's too late if the game actually needed Missile Man. And if it didn't need Missile Man, then well, there's Missile Man going around. I'll just make I would say the trashing a lot stronger. So you can see over here, I am planning to make Missile Man from the start. You can see 2 tech labs going down right now. Not something that normally happens. Not something that normally happens with me trashing either. I usually like to go for the +1/+1 drop, but in this case I do have the gas, and instead of going for pure guys with guns, I did decide to throw down these reactors because, like Azrael said earlier, I was a little bit pissed off.
Yeah. So of course, both of our macro economies have kicked in, and our playstyles are beginning to come into, I guess, what you would call their own. Blue has decided to go for 4 stargates off of 2 bases, which is way too many for 2 bases, and Red has decided to go for some sort of blink, or not blink, some stalker sentry shit. Sentries are really useless unless you're doing that sentry all in, and unless you're a Grandmaster.
I think there was some shit people try to pull off at the beginning of Wings with a 6th century defense against Zerg, and they could make it work rather well. It's just in that situation, as a Protoss player, if you use the sentries to stall out long enough, then they serve their purpose as well. They don't have to kill the units with the force fields. So even just stalling alone is enough for the sentries to serve their purpose. But then Zerg started going for an expand first in a very Boudoir-like style, so that sort of fell out of use.
Yeah. So of course we've got the trash delivery with the anytime afterburn redevacts, and unfortunately they got told to fuck off by the 2 skill rays, which decided to align.
Mostly because of the photon overcharge over there. It is an anti-trash, but really I feel like it is a needed anti-trash. If you take a look at the other side, you can see from a sort of Protoss point of view, all you did is tell them to fuck off. And the next time they come in, there's probably going to be 2-minute units for you to tell them to fuck off again. So over here you do see a large healthy Missile Man count, so of course being a little bit pissed off, I did decide to get those Missile Man right off the bat. Normally you see me getting Missile Man around 15 minutes if I decide the situation calls for it, calls for that degree of seriousness. I would say about the same time is when I also make the decision of adding tanks and 1 more level of seriousness of removing everything and putting down 7 factories for garbage mines.
Yeah. That's called the Hierarch. No, it's called the Azrael mine build.
Yes.
You macro off of 2 bases, make as many mines as you can, and get as many command centers as you can.
Yes.
Scans and mules. Of course, in that engagement, Red really the only thing they lost was their army.
Very gas-heavy army of sentries and stalkers.
Yeah.
Interestingly, if you take a look at this crap that they're building, all skill rays and stalkers and sentries. I don't even see any sentries on the field right now, but the unit tab does show there's 2. They're outside right now. This is basically bullshit that's made to try and pull off fancy shit. It's not something that's supposed to be efficient. Very heavy lack of any AoE there, which is something you kind of need against Terran. Something that would be nice to have against Protoss. Basically what they're saying is we want to pull off fancy shit, or we want to try to pull off fancy shit. We want to garbage, and we want to pile with garbage. It's extremely frustrating. Not because these guys are doing this in a way that stands out, but because it basically is what the fuck everyone else is doing at this point. And you can see this is the outcome. It's one Terran army which is very, very heavily upgraded with +2/+2. Very, very heavy medevac count, taking on 2 fucking Protoss armies at the same time.
Well, what do you expect when you armor everything? And then you have an anti-armor unit.
Well, Void Rays, they don't take damage from missile, man.
Well, that's true.
They should. Because, you know, Terran is having problems in the TVZ. It better nerf Protoss.
We've also got careers in production for Azrael, which is great. And I would just like to take this time to point out that carriers are really the only capital ship that requires a ridiculous economy still happening. Or, like, you know, it requires the existence of a really strong economy to actually function properly as a capital ship. No other race really requires that kind of, I guess, or like something to back it up with. You know, you make battle cruisers off of 3 bases, they will break shit and continue to break shit. However, you know,
funny enough, interceptors cost the same amount as one Zergling, and they're a lot tankier and a lot less DPS-y. So I would say they're about the same fairness as Zerglings. It's just that Protoss needs to be on tier 3 to make it, and Zerg can just make it at tier 1.
Yeah. Plus, you can always just leave it with Zerglings and kill them and then run away. Can't really do that with carriers. We've got HierarchARiA being a Jor here, smashing bases and then running away like a dick.
Yeah.
But we justified it with a why the fuck not?
Yeah. And over here you see the Void Rays running into the guys with guns in a very, very unwise manner. And after that, there's stalkers, and stalkers against missilemen and guys with guns is never a fun situation. I don't care what it is, except at the very, very early game where there's 1 stalker for every guy with a gun, and no stim around, no medevacs, no missile,
no upgrades.
Yeah, no upgrades. These are +2/+2, and the stalkers have basically no upgrades. +3 is almost finished, so they're going to be able to tear the Protoss a new one very, very soon. Even more new ones.
Azrael had heard recently from one of the viewers that the BM wasn't quite up to standard, so decided to put in a little bit more extra effort today.
Yes, and I did forget to work on my vocab today, so all the BM from me is in English.
Yeah. So we've got some careers moving out.
The Protoss Zerglings. We got the Terran Roaches, which you should kind of figure out what it was. What's the Terran unit that's the closest you are to actually, you know, what? There's 2.
I got the probes walking into the career line, which you know, immediately gets trashed.
Yeah, I couldn't even watch it fast enough.
I think at this point they'd have decided they'd have learned to, like, you know, leave, because there's really nothing you can do against careers in this number except with, like.
Well, you know what? You know, we see one application of Newton laws here, where one does not simply stop making stalkers. One started making stalkers, unless acted on by a large number of bits making. Which apparently all these bits is not enough to change the Newton laws. And number 2, another application of a theory where the average lots of a player don't know how to fucking do anything and past the 10-minute mark. You see, still the sentry count is very, very goddamn high.
It's just not a good use of it, you know. You could just, like, pull back and then tech up to, like, Templars or Archons or something. I mean,
does he even have the Templar tech right now? He has Rova facility, so at least he can get Unslots or something.
That would help a lot more, you know. Colossus, maybe that would like show some actual kind of thought.
Yeah.
I do have to commend him for his gateway count, though. That is something a lot of people do forget. Although this many gateways off of, like, 16 gateways off of 2 bases. Just
like I said, an application of the rule after 10 minutes, nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. Remember what I told to you when you first started playing? The answer to not having good warp cycles is not to work on your warp cycles, but to add more gateways. It's how you want to play if you want to get some results, and if you're not aiming for Grandmaster. Eventually, your warp gates cycles will become better, so it sort of just like evens itself out.
Yeah. So of course,
I see this piling shit, which has a very, very high resemblance to, let's say, shared unit control and piling like a dick.
Yep.
Which I don't approve, so I actually...
You also see the stalker bleeding in the back.
Yeah. And I actually sucked it up and actually talked to these retards once.
Yeah. And we also see the power of a Terran Bio army, which for some reason still gets mentioned on the forums, despite what just happened here. you know,
The high-tech Protoss ships runs away from a handful of guys with guns.
And I don't really understand how those guns are strong enough to hit the air units on it. It's like my one real logical answer to this would be to, you know, fly higher out of range of the guns.
Yep. I just like to point out that the answer to having a shitty unit composition is to continue with the shitty unit composition and to trash as much as possible.
Yeah.
It's either still living in that, like, I would say pre 6-minute bullshit period.
Yeah, 112 interceptors on the field right at the moment, which and we've also got like a, you know, pronged and double pronged attack or whatever you want to call it. I call it being a dick. BM is strong in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, really, you can't really, once you let people macro up, there's really nothing.
You know, there's people that say GG, and there's people that say GG with an exclamation point. I feel like those people actually mean they actually mean that they think this is a good game, but really it's just, you know, trash being told to fuck off. Like, the glory days of StarCraft is gone, and that's sort of one of the main reasons why there's no more. The content has been so rare lately.
So got some storms going down on careers, which doesn't really do anything because, well, they're careers. I mean, I'm sure that the interceptors got dented, but in the end, it was just not enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that was another episode of BM2GM.
Yeah.
Please send us our replays. We really don't want to play anymore.
Yeah, and we don't know when the next one will be up. We make no promises.
We might actually do the co-op. I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe.